What Silicon Valley means for the world is the future is being created.
We have Uber, Adobe, Netflix,
Intel, HP, Tesla. Oh man, there's so many more. I have to probably look at a list. Oh, I didn't even say Facebook. Sorry, Zuckerberg.
Ooh, 15 fascinating facts about Google.
It affects the world. Now you can get your communications across to people you would never be able to communicate to in a million years. That's just one of the many things I think that Silicon Valley does.
Silicon Valley is the hub of innovation.
Silicon Valley is a geographical area in the San Francisco Bay Area. Up here we have San Francisco at the top of the peninsula, and then down here is San Jose. And so everywhere in between, that's Silicon Valley.
If you want to create and you want to change the world and you want to do it on a big scale, this is the place you come.
You have people, the best in the talent in a particular industry coming from all over the world to work for companies.
I'm a software engineer.
I'm a senior program manager.
I'm a software engineer.
I'm a computer programmer.
Anyone can basically start a company here.
Silicon Valley is the place to be.
Everybody's united with a very similar purpose to be part of the creation of the future and to change the world.
One of the reasons why I really wanted to work at this particular Church of Scientology was, Silicon Valley is full of very smart individuals who are at the cutting edge of technology. And if I can help those guys become more able, fueling their interest, that's what I'm about. And that's what's really exciting to me. The most rewarding thing about working here, it's not actually a simple answer. You've got a lot of people who sometimes their problem is how do I go beyond the edge of where I'm at now? And so that's what Scientology is particularly good at doing, is taking an individual and then putting him into 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th gear so he can go as fast and far as he wants and create the kind of life that he wants. And having something to do with that is the thing that drives me in my life.
All sorts of different people come into the church. We have high-tech industry personnel. There's a very diverse community.
You get a lot of computer engineers and you get a lot of software engineers. On a daily basis, you can meet anyone from anywhere.
When I was a little kid, I was always kind of fascinated with taking apart electronic and mechanical things just to see how they work and put them back together and hopefully they worked again. As an engineer, I work for an automotive company in Silicon Valley. And the particular sector that I focus on is on interior instrument panel, center console. This is where the idea really starts and then it gets handed off to production later. It's really Silicon Valley style in that sense. Somebody brought Scientology to the attention of my mom. She realized, oh, this is kind of a great technology that really works in my life. I can apply it to certain areas that aren't going so well. I did a course which teaches one how to study effectively, whatever it is I'm trying to learn within newer technologies that I have to try to pick up on. It's interesting because being in Scientology, it's kind of hard to say, well, how am I using it? What do you mean? When don't I use it? with that in mind, life just goes really smoothly for me and things go the way I want them to.
That drew me to the area. You have young people striving to create the next thing. Technology knows no limits. Here in the Church of Scientology, we're about spiritual technology. For the person, not having the fears and the reservations, and that's where spiritual technology comes in.
Our church is located on the 101 freeway. There are 1,000 IT companies that dot this area.
Google has offices right behind our church, and the Googleplex is just on the freeway.
Right behind me here is the Googleplex building. This is the search engine giant's big main building where they deploy all their different applications. You might see their little green Android statues kind of sitting around, and that's where they develop the software for Android phones, just like mine here. It's also the home of all those very colorful Google bikes you'll see rolling around the town. And also, there's this building here to my right, which appears to be very new. I'm not exactly sure what it's for quite yet, but I guess we'll find out.
We've got Microsoft. I have friends that work at Yahoo. eBay is actually like a block and a half from my house.
If you go down south, you have Adobe, which is one of my favorite companies.
Silicon Valley is the place where the smartest individuals would come up with brilliant ideas, and then start building it in their garage. We are at the Apple Garage here in Los Altos. Now, this garage is right beside the childhood home of Steve Jobs, where both him and Steve Wozniak started Apple.
Nowadays, the Apple headquarters is this big giant ring we call the spaceship sometimes.
Alrighty, so right behind me, this is a part of the Apple Park building. This is part of their main structure. It looks like a flat panel, but it's actually part of a much larger ring. There's actually a visitor center on the other side, which shows a whole layout of the entire campus in kind of a nice 3D model. Cool, so this is the Apple Visitor Center for the Apple Park. They have set this whole building up so that people who want to come check it out and get a feel for everything can do so. The iPad is kind of paired with the scenery behind me. They can even put my hand kind of in front of the camera and you won't actually see it. You can pop the roof off the building right up front there.
Only in Silicon Valley are you gonna find innovation drive, technology drive.
Facebook is actually on one hacker way, which is kind of cool.
Right behind me is the famous thumbs up sign. You see it right in front of the main campus. What's interesting is now that because they have various reactions that you can put on people's posts on Facebook, like a heart or an angry or a haha or a sad, they're surprised they haven't put those other markings on this front sign, but we'll see if they do that in a future time.
Living in Silicon Valley, you don't know what lies around the corner tomorrow or what thing you're gonna see somebody down the street and you're like, what is that? 3 months later, it's a phenomenon. And you're like, oh, I saw that. Probably saw the prototype.
So it's just like so many things that we start taking for granted in this particular area that make it kind of unique. Like just down the street, we have a company and they do these security robots. And it's very super integrated. Everything is integrated into everything else. I think that's a big difference between this area and someplace else. It's just sort of this nice, quiet melting pot of huge amounts of energy and innovation at the same time. So that's what it's like to live here.
Imagine science and religion connecting. Imagine technology and spirituality combining. Now imagine that everything you ever imagined is possible. Scientology. There are higher states of existence.
Scientology Network presents L. Ron Hubbard in his own voice, an exclusive 3-part documentary series. He captivated an audience with his extraordinary knowledge of the mind and changed the lives of millions worldwide. Now, for the first time in this unforgettable series, hear the stories from the man that founded the world's youngest major religion. Don't miss L. Ron Hubbard in his own voice.
When I grew up, I was definitely a nerd, and I have friends who were nerds, and then nowadays, and they're CEOs of companies or in other high engineering positions. So it's almost like, for us, the revenge of the nerds.
You would think coming to Silicon Valley's corporate people are the opposite. They got sandals, super relaxed.
The unofficial uniform is like blue jeans, a hoodie. Usually the hoodie has a logo of some tech company, but not the tech company that you work at.
But the thing that really sets people apart is that because of this environment, you can really, really explore your passions.
Working in the cutting edge technology, that makes me very happy. Here, if you want to do something, you can actually do anything, whatever you want. In my own case, I'm a prototyping engineer. And as a prototyping engineer, we assist other people to bring their ideas and the concept into reality. So when I see their concept coming into reality and things start working, when I see the smile on their face, that makes me really happy. I used to be so scared or shy, and I never used to speak to people. I was actually looking for the right data. And in Scientology, whatever the questions I have, they have an answer somewhere. I took some communication courses which helped me to express more easily. In Scientology, whatever it works for you, you just take it and apply in your lives. So the application helps us to grow and make successful. Today, I can go and talk to any people, and I can articulate my ideas much more efficiently than before. That makes me it gives me a lot of joy.
This valley used to be known as the Valley of Heart's Delight, and that's because it was orchards.
Stanford came along and they put their campus there, and that was a point of growth. There's a gentleman, Dr. Frederick Terman, who was the vice president of Stanford University, and he was the granddaddy of Silicon Valley. He infused this purpose to create a high-tech hub in this area. Some of his students and people he mentored were like Hewitt and Packard, two luminaries in the high-tech industry.
We are at the HP Garage. This is probably the coolest piece of Silicon Valley history in this entire area, at least I think. This here is the very garage where William Hewlett and David Packard began producing their own little audio oscillators back in 1938 in this little garage.
I live right down the street from the famous garage. And then there's this guy, William Shockley. I'm gonna do the Silicon Valley thing. I'm gonna Google it. In the late 1940s, William Shockley co-invented the transistor, which is part of the computer processor, and every computer has in it. In 1956, Shockley founded his own company, Shockley Semiconductor Labs. It was the first company to make transistors out of silicon. The company was founded in Mountain View, California.
All right, so where those buildings are right there is the site in which William Shockley opened up his transistor labs back in 1956. And those statues are meant to commemorate that fact.
So then in 1957, 8 Shockley employees left the company and started their own computer company in Santa Clara called Intel. And if you've ever known a computer, you know that Intel is inside.
We've got places to be, we got worlds to save, we got goals to make, with a future for everybody. To pause to say this is our destiny.
Robert Noyce, he was the guy that invented the integrated circuit. And that's the thing that made the personal computer, possible.
We're here at the Computer History Museum. This is a place where they have a lot of cool old tech and other innovations that's happened over the past couple hundred years. Obviously, computers weren't immediately digital. We had to have some kind of mechanical computer. As data storage demands grew, people needed to put more data on compact forms of media storage. Now, this Cray machine, it looks like something out of Blade Runner with the tubes and perhaps translucent lighting. In the 1960s, a company tried to come up with a recipe storage system which costs, $10,000 for this very interesting Star Trek-looking piece of kit, and nobody bought it. Not a single person. Interesting, huh? This is actually pretty cool. A lot of new ideas that start up within Silicon Valley often come from a whole bunch of guys having a meal together and writing down their ideas on restaurant napkins. This one guy, Bob Zeidman, thought of a great idea to streamline that process and have printed napkins with directions on what exactly you needed to do. The instructions say, 1. Fill in product specs on side 1. 2. Fill in business plan on side 2. 3. Start company in your garage. 4. Throw huge rock parties, temper tantrums, anything you want. You have now joined the rich and famous of Silicon Valley. Buck's Restaurant is one of the restaurants where a lot of these tech giant companies kind of jotted their ideas down on their, paper napkins.
I've been here at Buck's for almost 29 years now, and we've met the world's most amazing people and seen fantastic things. In fact, it was at this table in the mid-90s that Hotmail was founded. That's when two guys got together and one guy had this idea, look, free email with an advertising tag. PayPal was founded here. Tesla was founded at table 40 over there when Mark and Martin got their first money. They offered us all $50,000 pieces. I thought, nah, I'll buy a web van, So, and it continues. Some of the same venture folks are here. The entrepreneurs are younger than ever. The evaluations are higher than ever. And it keeps on rolling.
Silicon Valley definitely is a place of opportunity. This is a very, very fast-growing area. Really, the communication lines of the world originate here now. It gives people the ability to communicate from all over the planet. That's what it's all about.
You are not your name. You're not your job. You're not the clothes you wear or the neighborhood you live in. You're not your fears, your failures, or your past. You are hope. You are imagination. You are the power to change, to create, and to grow. You are a spirit that will never die. And no matter how beaten down, you will rise again. Scientology. Know yourself. Know life.
It's easy to watch Scientology Network, even when you're away from your TV and on the go. Just download the app on your tablet or smartphone, and you can start watching anything you'd like, whenever and wherever you want. Or log on to Scientology.tv and watch your favorite shows right online. Scientology Network is available on all major platforms. Download now.
Silicon Valley is also very environmental, which has now become part and parcel of our lives, truly.
It is where electric cars are coming from, solar, you name it. I work for a company, and we deal a lot in electronic trade-ins and recycling. Just in mobility, there's 6 billion devices that are in circulation right now. And in a year or so, you're going to want to upgrade. Your dog's going to eat your other one. I go and I find things that have been turned in, thrown away, broken, damaged, anything you could think of that's an electronic. We're talking pallets and pallets and pallets and pallets and pallets of stuff. So a major important factor in electronic recycling is if we have the ability to get an older piece of equipment into a startup company, into a kid, then it extends electronic life and prevents unnecessary waste. At a certain point, that hit a head, and things were really bad and dark for me. But we have Scientology here in Silicon Valley, and so it gave me a way to figure out what I truly want. There are so many different things that I've studied, from communication to establish a relationship, and all these different things that Scientology has given me over the past 2 or 3 decades. I use it every day. I was able to figure out what kind of life I wanted. I want to keep our home clean, and Silicon Valley is my home.
The best rewarding thing about this church is just helping people and to walk out like, hey, I'm happier at work. Hey, I can do more work. I can help more people. That, to me, you cannot put a price on.
Well, one way that we're helping the community is we have a chapel. And we've opened it up to the community and nonprofit organizations.
We have people come in almost daily wanting to use the chapel.
We're becoming a place where they can turn to, they can meet, and then they get introduced to our campaigns, and then they can take that and use it in their groups to actually forward their purposes and goals.
And there's a booklet, it's called Truth About Drugs, and we distributed like hundreds of thousands throughout the Bay Area. Really what it comes down to is help individuals, and we change their lives in some aspect. And sometimes it's a small change, sometimes it's a massive change, but always that change is there, and it's always good. It calms the area.
Sometimes people say their area changes the world, but I can promise you that Silicon Valley, on a daily basis, changes how we live, it changes how we communicate, and it's pretty exciting.
Silicon Valley really allowed me to be more creative in what I do, and not only just do engineering, but kind of do it pretty much whatever I really want.
The history alone just speaks for itself, and I want to be part of that history, which each and every day is changing here. The people I work with, they share the same passion and energy. It just reflects the city.
Scientology and Silicon Valley really go together. Scientology is all about helping people. All about helping people, and it gives our great area a boost in our ability to create the future.
Silicon Valley is the future, and it has been the future for the past 30 years, and it will continue to be the future. This is definitely the .com of the world. This is where it all happens. And now I'm working here at the church, and I feel very, very lucky to do so.
Take a trip around the world without a passport and explore Scientology from a whole new angle.
The first impression most people get when they come is the warmth that comes with it.
It's powerful, it's passionate, energetic.
There's nothing like this place.
Don't miss Destination Scientology on Scientology Network. There are over 11,000 Scientology churches, missions, and groups in more than 160 nations. If you're curious about Scientology, go to Scientology.org. Or to find a Church of Scientology near you, visit Scientology.org/locator. And come find out for yourself.
This is an invitation.
to freedom.
It has not come with the blares of trumpets or the flare and flash of flame. It's come quietly, and you aren't at all sure you should believe it.
You are a spirit. You are your own soul. You are not mortal.
You can be free.
You have been invited.
There are 3 factors in Scientology which are of the utmost importance in handling life. These 3 factors help you find answers to getting along with others and improving relationships. Discovering how you can explain your ideas to people and how you can handle work better. We call these 3 factors in Scientology the ARC triangle. ARC is a word made from the initial letters of affinity, reality, and communication. By affinity, we mean emotional response. We mean the feeling of affection or lack of it. By reality, we mean the solid objects, the real things of life, the things that we agree are real. By communication, we mean an interchange of ideas between people. These 3 terms are interdependent one upon the other, and when one drops, the other 2 drop also. You can probably remember a time when a person pushed you away when you felt affectionate. What was your immediate reaction to them? Were you in agreement with what they did? Did you feel like communicating more or less? A lowering of one of these 3 points brings the other 2 down as well. Reversely, when one rises, the other 2 rise also. It is only necessary to raise one corner of this triangle to raise the other 2. Affinity and reality exist to further communication, and altogether, these form understanding. This triangle is the keystone of living associations. It is the common denominator of all life activities. Its use means a greater understanding of life itself.